Worn gold jewelry that you no longer wear or enjoy? Wimmer's Diamonds is interested. Hi, Aaron Wimmer here. We'd like to invite you to bring in your old gold jewelry. Wimmer's will purchase it based on weight and offer cash value or credit on your account. Stop by our magnificent showroom today at 4582 32nd Avenue South in Fargo.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us. It's Thursday, 1:05 on this Thursday afternoon. Meteorologist Justin Storm with Ag Director Bridgette, Readel with Dean Wysocki playing hooky, something about a softball game in Minneapolis. So he's down there soaking up the wind, and we're up here getting our fair share of wind as well, and we'll be running down that forecast coming up in just a bit. Bridgette, how are you doing today? I see you're in studio behind the soundboard, so it should be an interesting afternoon here.
I'm just going to start pushing buttons just in case
they work. You do what you got to do.
All right, I'm trying. That one didn't play. We'll try another one again. But you know what I just saw? Later on. What I just saw? That? You are some sort of a superstar. Look at that. For those on the live stream, Justin is the focal point of the local Good Life men's magazine. There he is sitting on a couch having a drink. Basically, what I got from this was you were either going to be a meteorologist or a comedian. It could have gone either way.
Yeah, it was a fun interview. They did that a couple months ago, and I didn't know when it was coming out, so I just figured they scrapped it.
I just said, that's enough of that, Storm. We're moving on with him.
Yeah, we don't want to put this guy on our magazine. So
Nope. You're it now. You're it. That's the guy.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. How was it? Is it good?
Well, I got to read it online as well. And yeah, you sounded like your normal self. And the best part was when they said, have any like on-air bloopers happened? And you said, boy, I can't think of any. And I thought of like 5 right off the bat that I kept to myself.
I was thinking of which ones I wanted to share. And then in the moment, it was just hard to recall one. But I think one of them popped up. I want to say it was the one where everyone introduced themselves and that's the wrong person.
You started that. You introduced yourself as Dean, and he, from time to time, introduces me as Bonnie, who's on a completely different show. So I'm not sure how that carries over, but it still does. All right. So speaking of all of this type of stuff, we one storm to another. Tell me about the weekend. Labor Day's coming. This place is quiet. People must all be on vacation.
It's gonna rain. Crap weekend. I'm kidding. Man, take a joke, people. I was joking.
Okay.
Now, it's going to be pretty nice. It's going to be hot and humid, lots of sunshine, so pack up the sunscreen. There we go. I don't really see any chance for some storms until we head into Monday night, and even that looks to be missing us. Of course, we're talking about something a few days out, so exact placement is going to vary just a little bit, but right now it's targeting a line from Jamestown to Grand Forks and points westward. That would leave Lakes Country in the southeast corner and the Southern Valley pretty dry, basically completely dry. All the rain would be off to our north and west, but we'll keep an eye on that. I got suspicions that it might trickle a little further south, but definitely the trend has been holding it out west. For today, man, who left the fan on out there? It's gusting to 40 miles an hour. Yeah, it's fly a kite, the kite takes your arm off kind of weather.
I had to run out to my pickup, and Sophia at our front desk said, did you just run out to the pickup? And I'm thinking, why? How messy did I just get when I tried to walk out there? Apparently it's a little breezy, folks. A little breezy.
Yeah, we're looking at gusts periodically over 40 miles an hour today. Generally, wind will be around 15 to 30, and really more 20 to 30 mile per hour sustained winds. See, currently we got winds at 22 gusting to 38, 25 gusting to 40 now, so they just bumped up a little bit. So definitely windy. Temperatures 82, shooting for highs in the mid to upper 80s across the area. Winds do begin to relax throughout this evening, but it will remain on the breezy side. It's not until we head after dark that the winds go about 5 to 15 out of the south, with low temperatures in the mid 60s. And then the heat builds in for Friday and the weekend. Low 90s and humid on Friday, mainly sunny to partly cloudy west southwest winds will gust to 20, and then fairly light 5 to 10 mile an hour winds on Saturday, mostly sunny to partly cloudy, low 90s, mid 90s on Sunday, mid 90s on Monday. And we've been talking about that low pressure system that's going to roll in off the Rockies on Monday. And then again, that looks like it's going to come into our area overnight Monday. So I really don't expect it to cause any issues. And if anything, it'll be a nice, refreshing surprise for Tuesday morning. The models are indicating that some of these showers could drop down a 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches of rain. It's just a very narrow band. And again, right now it's targeting Jamestown to Grand Forks. So I'm okay with that, but everyone here probably wants it to shift a little further south so the Southern Valley can get in on some much needed rain.
They might, and I will tell you that narrow band is extremely true, as I saw some thunderstorms this morning before I left in northern Cass County. So it tells me that there were a few things on the move today.
Yeah, there was a little line of some showers and thunder showers, and they were maybe 10-mile wide band that rode across eastern North Dakota, the valley, and then dissipated over into Minnesota. Still a few ongoing storms up in northwestern Minnesota up by the Lake of the Woods, more thunder showers than storms, but it really didn't bring a whole lot of rain out of it. I think we picked up about 0.02 of an inch of rain here, and anywhere from a 100th to 600ths of an inch of rain across Cass County and up north into Grand Forks County. But outside of that and the showers Monday night, those are the only two slight chances for showers that we have. So it's going to be another dry week. So grain harvest, good news.
Grain harvest
soybean production.
Yes. Well, okay, but
not so much.
Grain harvest is progressing very, very well. And we know that there is still some pre-pile going on for American Crystal for sugar beets. Then additionally, when it comes to those soybeans, I have started to see soybean fields drying down. I mentioned this yesterday on my travels to South Dakota, that you could see side hills where we don't have a lot of organic matter, not a lot of rainfall hits there, or maybe we saw some lighter soils and it's starting to dry down. So that usually happens right around Labor Day. I think you'll see a marked change over the next week of what our soybean fields look like. Jay Stenman, part of our Crack Sports team, he sent me messages from Watertown, South Dakota this morning. And I said, how does the crop look, Jace? He said, well, there's corn and it looks good.
And corn.
And the yield hasn't been determined yet. And I said, but they haven't combined any. No, they haven't combined any yet. So Jace is really on it for us. It's going great.
There we go. Hey, if you're listening, you want to call into the program, be a part of the conversation. Red Wing Shoes phone line. By the way, those Red Wing boots, man, those things are something else. Go get yourself a pair over at Red Wings on Main over in Fargo. Teresa will hook you up with a nice custom fit pair of boots. Phone number 701-293-9000. That's the phone number to the studio. You can always reach us via email as well at weather@flagfamily.com or ag@flagfamily.com. You can also utilize our live chat boxes on YouTube Live and Facebook Live, or you could just watch us over on Acres TV as well. If you want to join in on this conversation, how is your crop looking? How is your grain harvest going? You expecting good yields, average, above, below? Just let us know what things are looking like. Give us a call. I'd love to hear about it. I know that our field is looking pretty good. Have you been out there recently, Bridgette? I haven't been out there in about a week or so. Maybe 10 days was the last time I was out there.
Well, we had a caller at the tail end of the show yesterday. Unfortunately, we didn't get them on air, but their great concern was for my missing pig that fell out of the Fisher-Price barn when we were out there with Irie Insurance. And I was asked if we will be putting together a search party over the weekend to find my missing pig. And I don't have a search party in plan yet. I did think I should stop out there this evening and just take a little look around, see if I can find him.
You know, I've been meaning to stop out there, but between the studio and trying to get home before little
softball.
Kiddo goes to bed.
Oh, yeah, that's
softball.
right.
Yeah, forget it. Softball. We got to get there before first pitch. I haven't had time to stop over there. I want to go look and see if I can find your pig. It's just the time has been eluding me. And now Dean took time off, so
he is
I'm
not
working
looking
remote
for my pig, by the way. He's not looking.
No, he's not. But I won't be down there for a couple days because I'm covering mornings. And instead of waking up at 3 o'clock to get down there by the time the shows start in the morning,
hey, look, about 3 a.m. is about the time I wake up to have to head to use the restroom. Do you just want me to call you and let you know that it's time to get up and go to the studio?
You know, we could do that, but the sad fact that I don't go to bed till midnight kind of hits that 5.5 hours of sleep I get every day. So
it's all about planning, Justin, all about planning. And that's not in your favor at this point. So, but what?
Well,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of planning, we have a loose plan today for the show.
We do.
Of course, our list of ever-growing ag topics that is now, I think, Not much shorter than when we first wrote it, because we never get to any of them.
We get to some.
We still have to hit the one from yesterday. That was the global phosphate discovery. We didn't have time to touch it because we had phone calls and email that we were responding to or talking about.
Okay.
But we have that global phosphate discovery, and then we're going to switch things over a little bit to ranching and cattle. I talk a little bit about the benefits of grazing cover crops, real-world cattle handling techniques, and also feeding cattle with high-priced feed. So we got 4 topics that we're going to get to today, at least try to. And our guest in our next segment will be Chad Johnson with the grain weevil.
Okay. So first of all, I am making sure I have this phosphate mine discovery up so we can talk about that. Number 1. 2. When we talk about the grain weevil, and I know Chad is waiting in the wings to join us, I'm going to have a ton of questions because I mentioned this to some folks this morning about having Chad on, and they ask questions like, well, how does it move? Well, how does it come back to you? Is it like a little boomerang, or does it come back to its docking station? So Chad, make notes. These are the questions we got to answer. And do you drop it in from the top of the bin? If you have bridged up grain, do you only use it when the door can open and you can send them in through the door? These are things we're going to have to know and talk about, because as we get to harvest and we see more and more grain going into bins, or as we have talked about earlier this week, putting it into bags in the field, how are you going to store your grain? What's the quality of your grain? And that grain weevil really does come in handy, especially safety is a factor when we're using it in bins and grain handling systems. So I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. And I remember this came up on our show like 2 months ago, I think. Yeah. And someone had mentioned the grain weevil, and we're like, well, what the heck is a grain weevil? And then someone's trying to describe what it looks like. And
so
I'm like, Bridgette, can we get this guy? Can he get on the show?
And I've watched the video, and the best way for me to describe it is it looks like a grain bin Roomba. Like it just goes paddling through your grain.
See, I was explaining that to my wife today. I was like, yeah, it's basically a Roomba for your grain bin. It's the best way I could describe it.
It is.
The other way I was thinking of, do you remember back in the early 2000s, this was like an all-terrain RC vehicle, but instead of wheels or like a fuselage for a boat, it had 2 augers on each side, and it would just spin the augers, and that's how it would move on land, but also how it would propel itself through the water.
So like 2 auger flightings, the corkscrews that would turn?
Yeah,
that's what it was?
Yeah. Yep, that's what it was.
Well, okay then. I do not remember that. You had cooler toys than I did.
I guess so. Probably something about growing up next to water.
Yeah, I'm sort of from the prairie pothole region, if you will, and I'm sort of. I'm really good at picking rock. That was sort of like my big superpower as a kid. I could pick rocks.
Oh, all right. Well, why don't we let's take a moment here. Let's get Chad brought into the show. We're gonna take a quick moment here and do that. So when we come back, we'll be rejoining with Chad Johnson and with the grain weevil. We'll be talking all about what this little nifty grain Roomba is all about. And if you want to ask questions and join the conversation again, give us a call, 701-293-9000. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Livestock is mixed this afternoon for the American Ag Network, broadcasting live from Decatur, Illinois at the Farm Progress Show. I'm Richard Risvet with this market update. The live cattle complex was trading lower. However, it is now back to trading higher. With packers unable to buy a plethora of cattle in last week's negotiated cash cattle trade, it's likely that they'll have to engage in this week's market more than they'd ideally like to. A light trade is just now being reported in Nebraska at $2.90, which is $3 lower than last week's average, and live in Nebraska at $182 to $184, which is $1 to $3 lower. Yesterday in Iowa, some cattle traded at $184 to $187 live, and some dress traded at $290, with some heifers trading in Kansas at $179 yesterday afternoon. Neither of those sales were large enough to say that any sort of a market tone has been set. Asking price in the south remained firm at $181 to $182, and in the north at $292 to $294. Now, box beef prices are mixed. Choice down 72 and select up 149 with a movement of 47 loads. And even though cash prices and midday pork cutout values are higher, traders aren't finding enough fundamental support in the hog market to deem it appropriate to push the contracts any higher after yesterday's significantly higher move. Even if pork cutout values do close sharply higher today, it's unlikely that traders will move the contracts much beyond yesterday's closing price, as they're going to need to see some long-term continued support in pork cutout values before they push that much higher. We'll get a look at the livestock numbers. This is the American Ag Network.
Non-attorney paid spokesperson. Could your house go into foreclosure? Are you behind on your mortgage payments? Does it seem like the bank has no interest in helping you save your home, and you feel like you have nowhere to turn for help? Then we have good news for you. Foreclosure Protection Services can help save your home, as they specialize in foreclosure assistance. That's all they do. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, being threatened with foreclosure, have been denied a loan modification, or been the victim of a predatory loan, it's critical that you call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-926-1701. Their network of attorneys and their agents are available to speak to you now. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, Foreclosure Protection Services can help stop the foreclosure process. Call today before it's too late. New laws are in effect that may save your home. Call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-926-1701. 800-926-1701. That's 800-926-1701.
Let's get a look at the livestock numbers. Live cattle August up 92 at 179.72. October up 102 at 181.07. December up 80 at 185.02. And the February live cattle, they're up 65 at 189 even. Feeders August down 95 at 249.10. September up 42 at 253.05. Lean hogs October down 125 at 82.35. December down 90 at 74.20. And the February lean hogs, they're down 70 at 78.40. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Ristvet.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
And this is Bridgette Readel with WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. The guys left me alone in studio today, which means this is going to be a lot of fun.
We were just afraid you were going to hurt us after we talked so much about the laser beams and the clouds in the sky.
A little smackdown.
So we just distanced ourselves a little for our own safety and yours, of course.
That's absolutely right, because I can give you the look, whether I'm in studio or remote, of... What did it play?
That's wildly inappropriate.
That's it.
That's it. That's the one. That voice would be Justin Storm. He'd been my co-host here for Weather and Ag in Focus. And I want to make sure to let you know that thank you to those who are participating in our Here We Grow project. Two of those sponsors would include... today's Thursday. We're going to talk about Irie Insurance, because they've done a fabulous job of going out to the field with us. We have one of our videos posted in the field with Bethany and with Shane, talking about the coverage that they offer to farms and crop insurance and so forth. But then also Steffes Group with Steffes Auctions. And we went to their live auction, and that video was just posted last Friday. So please go check that out on our website, because you get a chance to see a live auction, people raising their hands, buying a few things here and there. And I might have bought some stuff for Justin and Dean, but I'm just going to wait to surprise them with it when they least expect it. Never know when
you can also check out. You can also check out all those episodes on our Facebook page and also our YouTube page, where we have most of our interviews. I'm still working on a good handful, but a lot of ag topics that we've covered are all found on the YouTube channel as well from the past year. So I think we have like 400 episodes or videos out now. Do
you know what I didn't buy you at the auction that day?
Was it a Jesse Ventura shirt?
Nope, that didn't even cross my mind. Nope, I didn't do that, but I didn't buy you a grain weevil, because that's why I thought it would be appropriate that we talk about that today. And Chad Johnson with the grain weevil, I don't think that's what we call him, is the grain weevil, but he talks about it himself. And Chad's here. And Chad, how would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself? Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus.
Well, thanks for having me on. So my title at Grain Weevil is either CEO or Dad. So he's actually the inventor of the robot. So my son and I invented the robot. He's the electrical robotics engineer, and I'm, an elementary school teacher by trade. So
you're the guy with the idea.
Well, actually not. It was just a local farmer that gave us the idea. I'm the guy that takes down the barriers to let the smart people solve all the problems.
I don't know. I thought you were the smart guy, Chad. Okay, so local farmer had this great idea. Where'd you go from there? How'd you get that rolling?
Yeah, so actually my son was working on a educational project, just he was a senior in high school, going into a freshman year of college. Completely different robot. And a local farmer saw this robot working and challenged my son. He said, "Man, if you can build that thing, build me one to keep me out of a grain bin." So that was the challenge. My son and I, neither one of us ever been inside of a grain bin. So whether it was just us being naive or overconfident, we said, "Sure, that sounds like a good project." And so we went at it from a complete unique perspective. We know that we don't know anything about grain farming, why you want one of these. So it's been hundreds of hours of conversations with farmers and us tinkering in the garage and taking something out to our local friend's farm, and total failure. It was really bad idea, a few of them. And then actually it wasn't the little toy with the augers. It was back in the 80s, the Army built a swamp robot that had the auger drive. And somehow that came across, and we're like, well, that makes a lot of sense. If you're going to move a robot in grain, you should use an auger. Mm-hmm. So that's the inspiration. And our first robot worked in March of 2020. There you go. We got a little video of it.
We do. We got the video on the live stream, and your little robot flipped itself over. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it was addressing this great big pile of foreign materials and trying to break that up and spread it around. And so this was a really good test for us. It's got anti-flip over capabilities. It's super powerful. So that's the stage that we're at right now is working out the final kinks and making sure that it can operate safely inside of your grain bins.
That thing is, Justin's so fascinated he can't even stop looking. He's just watching the video.
Is super cool.
It is a lot of fun to watch.
Okay. And I have a million questions besides what would you use it for besides the grain? But okay, let's go back to where I was prompting you earlier. It's got little paddles underneath that's driving it. What's its battery life? Does it come back to a docking station like a little robot? Do you have to put it in through the door? Do you lower it through the top? Just feel free to start with me, Chad. Where do you want to go?
All right. So we first started, this was 100% just anomaly robot, break up crests and bridges. But once we figured out how well it can work actually managing grain, we can start with the first truckload. So you dump in your first truckload, and the robot comes in from the hatch door at the top, so the man hatch, raises and lowers with a docking station that's up outside the hatch, lets the robot go, and we start working as a spreader. And you can fill grain up. You can push grain in while it's running, so it doesn't get buried.
Okay.
And it actually maximizes airflow efficiency all the way through the process of loading your grain. And when it starts to run out of battery, so right now we're anywhere between 90 minutes and 2 hours of operation time.
Okay.
That's getting better and better as we get more and more efficient. When it gets low, it goes back to where it can hook up to its winch, pulls it up out of the grain bin and docks, does its recharging just like your Roomba would, and then drops back down in and keeps going on the task that it's working on.
Hold on. So you're saying that this thing...
That is so cool.
It's like on a timer, right? It goes in and out on its own. You don't have to reset it every time?
Yes. So right now we're in what we call human supervised autonomy.
Okay.
So we're still needing to watch it and make sure that it's doing everything that it's supposed to do. Very soon, it will be fully autonomous, which means it also is self-aware. So it knows where it's at in the grain bin. Mm-hmm. We have that system working. It's just not accurate enough yet inside of grain bins. It's a horrible environment for robots and electronics, just like it is for humans.
Right.
So yeah, it knows where it's at. It knows the task that it's supposed to do. It'll be able to do 90% of the tasks autonomously. And so it knows when to go back and recharge. So basically, the whole goal is if you want to level a grain bin, you put the robot in there, tell it to level it, go watch a football game, and you'll get a text when it's done.
I am watching this video like it's a guy walking on the moon. I mean, jaw open, staring at it.
I just want to watch the video.
I know.
Talk about thinking about questions, but I do have one for you here.
Yeah.
Okay, this might go in two different ways, and I'm hoping that this is going to lead into what I want to ask you. But tell me about some of the issues, the hurdles that had to be overcome when developing this robot to get it to where it is now. What was the big issue that was like, how am I going to get this thing to work? It keeps doing this when it's not supposed to, or it keeps breaking, or what does that situation look like?
Sure. We've had 4 major challenges. And the first one was an auger drive robot, whether it's on the ground, in a swamp, in the water, or in grain, takes a tremendous amount of power, way more power than it takes to run a wheeled robot. And so being able to build a system, so that robot weighs 50 pounds, and in our current configuration, it outputs 6 horsepower. So I mean, this is a massively powerful robot. We're running over 100 amps of current through each motor. Yes. So that was the first big challenge, is to get the right match of motors and batteries that could deliver that power. Then the second big hurdle, and the one that's our biggest challenge still, is the fact that grain bins are hazardous locations. So with the dust explosion environment, our robot has to be 100% spark free. It's got to be sealed so it's dust free and ignition proof. Mm-hmm. So that means, and not just like with one layer of safety, we have to have at least three failure modes on every system. So if our winch breaks and the robot drops, we have to have it can't spark when it hits the sidewall or the floor. There's 0 sparks allowed. So that's actually the biggest challenge for getting us out into the market, is to make sure that we pass all of those safety tests and ensure it's engineered that way, but getting it through the regulations to ensure that has been it's been a tough battle. Probably the biggest key to unleashing the robot into the wild will be this pinpoint location system. GPS obviously does not work inside of grain bins, but ultra wideband location, Wi-Fi location, no LiDAR, none of that stuff works inside of grain bins. So we have to custom build our own location system, and so it's been an interesting challenge technically on that side. Wow. So those are like the 3 big technical challenges. Then we have probably the biggest operational challenge is when you're working on flowing grain, it's easy to flip the robot over. And so now we have both those wings that you see on the newest robot are a huge factor in flipping, not being able to flip over. And then we have intelligent software inside that if it knows that it's flipping, it can reverse the augers and save itself. So those are those kind of things that we've had to overcome as we get the robot in there to actually be able to do work.
Right. Man, I got so many questions. I want to ask them and get the answers, but we have to hit a break here. But before, I'll just ask them when we come back. If anyone listening has questions, because I'm sure we all have just a bunch of questions, give us a call on the Red Wing Shoes phone line. That's 701-293-9000. Appreciate those watching on the live streams right now. If you have questions, you can drop them in the comment box there as well on Facebook or YouTube, and we'll get caught up with bottom of the hour news. When we come back, we'll rejoin this conversation and we'll get all these questions answered. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
They'll have you laughing right along with them. They're Bonnie and Friends.
You're sounding sexy right now. What's going on with you?
Worse. Sounds like you've got a goat in your throat.
Don't get me sick. Here's the fork.
As cooler, drier air punches in here for Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay, dude. Okay. There's some lozenges in my bottom drawer if you need them.
Man. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Okay, so the weather has been brought to you by
Bonnie and Friends. Catch them weekday mornings beginning at 5.
Join us Labor Day weekend as the hills of Rolog come alive at the Western Minnesota Steam Threshers reunion in Rolog, Minnesota. This year honoring past and present veterans and our military with vintage military equipment and a flyover salute. There's 2 daily parades featuring hundreds of tractors, steam engines, and antique vehicles. Enjoy tractor pulls, exhibits, Pioneer Ladies activities, kids activities, trade rides, threshermen's meals, and more. Labor Day weekend, September 1st through the 4th in Rolog, Minnesota. For details, visit rolog.com.
Good afternoon, I'm Tom Tucker, WDAY News First. Investigators say the man who made a shooting threat against a local school was motivated by a desire to release someone from a trapped parallel dimension. According to documents filed in Cass County District Court, 35-year-old James Donnelly says he received frequencies that directed him to open fire at a school and kill 50 students to open a portal. Donnelly faces 2 felony terrorizing charges. A Moorhead man is behind bars following the execution of a search warrant at his home Wednesday. Police acted on several tips from the public conducting the search warrant in the 3500 block of Village Green Lane. During the search, officers report seizing more than 1,500 M30 pills, more than $2,800 cash, and 2 firearms. Minnesota Republicans are calling for a special session to repeal the new school resource officer law. The law, which was updated this spring, prohibits school resource officers from using excessive restraints on the head, neck, and torso. And UND President Andrew Armacost says enrollment this semester is up 2.5%.
You're right. Enrollments are key for several reasons. One is the first is to offer a great education to as many people as we can.
Enrollment is now at roughly 14,150. Tom Tucker, WDAY, and WDAYRadioNow.com.
Transportation issues are on the rise in our community, and with your help, we're ready to take on the challenge. I'm Travis, the Outreach Coordinator for Fix It Forward Ministry. Now through August 31st, your monetary donations will be doubled, up to $15,000, helping to provide the parts, tools, and materials needed for vehicle repairs and car donations. Together, we can help those in need. Please donate and double the impact at fixitforwardministry.com. We're driven to serve.
Three Lions Pub is a place for ladies every Friday and Saturday night. On Saturday, ladies get $1 you call it. There's a drawing for relaxing products from Nature's Therapy.
Bring your better half for the Friday night date night deal. 2 meals and a bottle of wine for $35. There's also a variety of beer on tap. Lunch is back 7 days a week, 11 to 3. And all first responders, military, and seniors save 15% every day.
Friends, food, and fun at Three Lions Pub on 13th Avenue in West Fargo.
This is Weather and Ag in Focus with Bridgette Readel, Justin Storm, and Dean Wysocki.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us. It's 1:37 on this Thursday afternoon. A quick look at the currents outside of Fargo, 82 degrees, south winds gusting to 40 miles an hour. Got another check on the forecast coming in our next segment, but we're rejoining our conversation now. And that's with Chad Johnson with the Grain Weevil, or dad of the Grain Weevil. And we've been talking all about this autonomous little drone to go into your grain bins, to level it, move the grain around, keep people out of it. And it's fascinating. We've had the privilege of having some of Chad's video here to play during our live stream to kind of show how it operates. And I gotta tell you, Chad, this thing is just magnificent. In our last segment, we were talking about some of the issues and the hurdles that had to be overcome and are still being worked on. And you had made a mention, I think it was number 2, your second problem you guys were having is you can't have any sparks because it's dry and there's a lot of dust in the air and you get grain bin explosions or fires and take someone's whole crop out. And you were talking about how you were overcoming that. It led kind of into the question I wanted to ask you about it. Do you have to deal with a bunch of static electricity frying the components out in this if it's continuously going through dry grain? Is that an issue, or because it's sealed there, it doesn't really have that problem?
Sure. The static really isn't a big challenge for us. Running through the grain does generate a little bit of static electricity, but not enough to initiate sparks, which is very good. Or at least not sparks strong enough to ignite the grain dust. But because of the way we've built the robot, the static doesn't affect the inside. So the electronics aren't affected by the static. The biggest challenge of the electronics are the heat, especially when you start going into grain bins where the air temperature is 120 degrees. It really challenges your electronics when you get that hot. So everything is designed to stay below certain temperatures. Everything inside's designed to be spark free. So even the static discharges are all kind of built into this safety function that we have engineered and built into it. So yeah, it looks like a fairly simple machine, and in all reality, it is. It's a couple of augers, a couple of motors, and a battery. But the ability for it to know what it's supposed to do and to do that safely is where the big challenges lie.
I see, and that leads into my next question I wanted to ask you. And I don't know if you'll be able to answer it for me, or maybe a better way of putting it is maybe I don't know if you want to answer it for me. And you had mentioned, navigating systems were also a big issue. You can't use LiDAR, GPS doesn't work inside of a tin building, all that stuff. How do you get it to know what it's doing and where it's at? What kind of system or whatnot allows it to be able to identify what's going on? And again, if you don't want to answer that, you don't have to.
Wait, is there a button here that just does like magic shimmers? That's how Chad makes it work. I'll find that button. It's just magic.
I think you're misunderstanding what my first comment was. Chad just gets rid of the challenges and barriers so the smart people can solve the problems.
Oh.
These guys, my engineers that are working on all this stuff, it's great. We've got a great team. So basically, to solve the problem, both of ensuring reliable communications with the robot, and therefore also being able to communicate with the radio triangulation, we're using LoRa, LORA, so it's a long range radio signals, but radio triangulation through time of flight. A lot of drones use the same kind of systems as well. How we're implementing that is our secret sauce, how we're building it. But it's basically you got one radio pinging and all other kind of radios listening, and the robot responds, and then they triangulate how long it takes to get those responses. So it's a fairly unique system because of the application, not because of the the technology.
Wow.
But to be able to filter that down to where we're accurate, that's the real challenge.
Mm-hmm. That sounds intense.
Okay, speaking of intense, on that video, you initially, great Chad, you were talking about leveling grain as a bin is filling, so you don't have those ridges and so forth that can build up. But then later on, I saw when you were discussing the bridging in the bin. So this works as a leveling unit, but then also if you get, due to high moisture corn or something like that, you get the bridging across the bin, you can send the grain Weevil in instead of a person to avoid a bin entrapment situation. Would I be correct?
That is correct. And that was like our initial 100% about, what job does a human go in when the grain's bad?
Right.
So we built it to be able to break up those crusts and those bridges. But our whole goal now is to avoid all of those situations. And if you can use the robot to manage your airflow, the crusts won't form because we can keep the airflow throughout the whole system by managing the top surface of the grain.
Okay.
So our ultimate goal is to avoid crusts. But if a crust does form, you can notice all of our robots are not tethered. And that's so that we can run with rope sensors or cable sensors. We can run while there's stir rators running. If we have to tether it, then it restricts our robot. Can't do as many patterns. We can't do multiple robots and those kind of things. But if there's a bridging situation, we can tether it.
Okay.
And you can see some of those situations where we're addressing some of that really nasty grain.
Yeah.
We can go ahead and tether it because we know there might be a collapse.
Man, I just wanted to make sure to clarify that for folks who are listening and or watching the live stream. And frankly, when you, if I'm not mistaken, I heard you say something about like 50 horsepower on that little operation on the motors, et cetera, the output.
50 pounds.
50 pounds.
6 horsepower.
6 power. Sorry, I switched those numbers around.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't have one of those videos out on like TikTok or YouTube of a cat riding a floor Roomba, but I'm pretty sure I can sit on this one and ride this thing.
So not in the grain.
Okay, fair.
So just for 2 reasons, it's not safe.
Thank
for
you.
to go in there and ride in the grain. But the physics of the robot moving through the grain, if we actually get very much bigger, then we can move grain, but the robot can't move.
Okay.
But I won't say who, but it's also the same guy that they call Dad in the shop, right?
That guy.
I've ridden the robot.
Is this going to be a big iron?
You can't see in the if you can't see in the video, I'm not a small gentleman, so this robot
How fast were you going?
Can carry me without even. It can carry me without even knowing I'm sitting on it.
Look,
that's how powerful.
At the Big Iron Farm Show coming up in mid-September, they let us have a golf cart as Weather and Ag and Focus to drive around. I now want to ride a grain weevil around the site. So if you're going to be there, just bring one for me, please, Chad. I will totally be your spokesperson.
One of these days, we'll be ready for that.
Sweet.
Right now, we keep the Weevil riding to our robot shop.
Okay.
So with all the testing that's going on, you still are in that phase where it's eyesight autonomous. So you're keeping an eye on it while it does its own thing to make sure that it's not doing something it's not supposed to, or something wrong doesn't occur. If it's always if everything goes according to plan, but when do you think you're going to be at that point where it's ready to go public and anyone can get their hands on one of these?
So our timeline this fall, we are building a fleet of 10 robots that Grain Weevil will operate and do some very limited services, kind of get out there to start working out some more of the kinks at a little more regular pace. Sometime December, January timeframe, we have 10 early adopters that have agreed to buy robots, and we're going to do that soft release. My guess is that will be January, and that will help us work out all the kinks and the logistics. The robot's pretty much ready to go. The lifting and docking station is still pretty labor intensive, so we're fine tuning that, making that more autonomous. And then, like I said, our autonomous capabilities are still based on supervision. So we'll work out those kinks. And then throughout 2024, we'll just keep adding more and more to that option. So it may be another month or maybe 2 months if there's challenges, and we'll release 25 more. And so 2024 is going to be a fairly controlled, slow release, just because the environment is so dangerous and because our robot is so powerful, it has to be done right. And so making sure that this controlled release, making sure we're building out the right service network, making sure all of that falls in place, as well as the robot being able to do its job. So course of 2024, they'll start to become available. And then if all goes well, 2025, we'll be able to go mass market.
Chad, I have a text message question for you. And because farmers are truly the mother of invention, and they said, can you make it so it can push and clean up grain on a bin floor? Because guys get old and shovels are heavy. Is that a possible prototype down the road?
So all along, we've said so far, we'll guarantee to get rid of your scoop shovel, and the broom is coming later. But this summer, we had a couple of really, really good college interns, and we have a fully functional sweeping robot.
Wow,
so we can now sweep your floor. Yes. So no boots in the grain, and we're getting very close to the capabilities of zero entry.
Nice.
That's super cool. And is this like a one size fits all? I mean, is there a maximum size that you can throw this into, or is it kind of anything you got, you throw it in there and it's good to go?
The robot is one size fits all. The time workflow is the determining factor on whether or not you need multiple robots. I can manage a 4 million bushel flat storage with one robot, but it's going to take months to do a task, right? So I may put 5 in there to do that great big commercial facility. We say that a single robot can manage about 250,000 bushels in full harvest workflows. So about 5 50-foot grain bins, diameter grain bins. You start to get much more than 50-foot diameter, then it gets way better to put 2 in there because they're so much more efficient when they work together.
Right.
So it's just really a matter of total volume and workflows.
Okay.
That is super cool. Well, Chad, tell me, if someone wants to get more information about this this product, they want to follow the development, they want to be first in line when they can get their hands on one of these, where can they go to? And also, if you have any social media platforms, if you want to plug those in as well.
Sure. So our website's the best place to go. It's grainweevil.com, and there's a sign up for a newsletter. You can do a farmer survey, help us work through all of our questions that we still have about farms and how they might implement them. We do have LinkedIn and Twitter, but almost all of the videos that you guys have seen of Grain Weevil are organic. They're not ours. They're other people helping tell our story. So whatever social media you're on, just search for it and you're going to find us.
That is super cool. Well, Chad, thank you very much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And we got to get a check on the American Ag Network. But when we come back, we'll hit that ag topic on that big phosphate discovery. And we'll try and sneak in a couple more as well as a check on the forecast. So stay tuned. Weather and Ag in Focus. We'll be right back.
They'll have you laughing right along with them. They're Bonnie and Friends.
Bonnie gave me some pocket medicine, I think. Oh, for your allergies.
Bonnie keeps everything in her pocket.
What about Janae's pocket gum you keep in there, too?
Yeah, I do.
Pocket lint and all that stuff.
No, there's no lint in my pockets. And the gum I put in is like hard Mentos gum, so it's not like it's even acquiring any lint if it could. And the thing is, you guys, this is my stuff in my pocket. You guys are begging for things, so just eat it with the fuzz on it.
Bonnie and Friends. Catch them weekday mornings beginning at 5.
Farmers and ranchers, you work hard every day. Cass County Farm Bureau would like to say thank you for everything that you do. In America, we're blessed to have the safest, most abundant food supply in the world, thanks to the efforts of farm and ranch families just like yours. Cass County Farm Bureau would also like to remind you to keep doing the great work that you do. But please, do it safely. Remember, farm safety is your best investment.
Join us Labor Day weekend as the hills of Rolog come alive at the Western Minnesota Steam Threshers reunion in Rolog, Minnesota. This year honoring past and present veterans and our military with vintage military equipment and a flyover salute. There's 2 daily parades featuring hundreds of tractors, steam engines, and antique vehicles. Enjoy tractor pulls, exhibits, Pioneer Ladies activities, kids activities, train rides, threshermen's meals, and more. Labor Day weekend, September 1st through the 4th in Rolog, Minnesota. For details, visit rolog.com.
Discover Kinder Care. Kinder Care is assisted living homes located in West Fargo, offering adult daycare services, companion care, and assisted living. All the services you need available at Kinder Care, plus home-cooked meals, 24-hour security, personal care, and more, all in a cozy family environment located on 3 acres of land in a scenic, quiet country setting in West Fargo. KinderCareFargo.com or call 701-261-3246.
It's Weather and Ag in Focus.
Tillage Tuesday, a weekly social media discussion between agronomists regarding the pros and cons of tillage in various soil conditions.
Hi, I'm Bridgette, Readel, Ag Director. Join me during Big Iron Farm Show at the Morton Building Wednesday, September 13th from 11 to 1. Larry Lunder and Jason Hansen from Twitter's #TillAgeTuesday are joining us for a social media meetup. Join us to weigh in on whether or not to till or not to till. #TillAgeTuesday tweet up live from the Morton Building.
Attention harvest workers. Ogard Family Farms is looking for truck and tractor drivers to help them with the sugar beet harvest. No CDL is required, but you do need a valid driver's license. They offer full hookup campground, great pay, as well as overtime. Call today, 701-371-2180. That's 701-371-2180.
What do eyewear and weather have in common? Join us for the Aspire Optical Eye on the Sky weekly weather forecast to find out. Each Tuesday morning, Dean Wysocki, Justin Storm, and myself, Ashley Freeborn, owner of Aspire Optical, will bring you the 7-day forecast.
You never know where we'll be or how it will be presented, but we promise to bring you the most accurate forecast this side of the Red River.
And learn how you can save big on eyewear from Aspire Optical.
Watch the Aspire Optical Eye on the Sky weekly weather forecast on our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter pages.
Trust us, this is weather and eyewear like you've never seen.
Attention all growers and ag retailers. Tired of losing the war against wild oats? It's time to bring in the big guns. Avadex and Fargo herbicides from Gowan, USA. These Group 15 herbicides are your ticket to controlling Group 1 and Group 2 resistant wild oats and suppressing brome and ryegrass. Don't let these weeds invade your field. Take charge. Contact your local ag retailer today and get your hands on Avadex and Fargo. Always read and follow label directions from Gowan, USA.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
Yeah, welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Hey, Bridgette.
Hey, what?
You want to see something cool?
Of course I do. What do you
see
got?
A little icon on the desktop on that computer in front of you? It looks like a little phone call or a little phone icon on the bottom. You go ahead, click on that, and open it up if you can find it. Everybody listening, take your phones out right now. Dial 701-293-9000. Take callers number 3, caller number 4. You get yourself a pair of tickets to Rolog for the Steam Threshers reunion. So we dial 701-293-9000. We got 2 pair of tickets to the Steam Threshers reunion. We'll give away to caller number 3. As well as caller number 4. And Bridgette, if you click on the, there's a button, there's 4 of them. On the bottom right, it will lock them in on the show if you want to try and bring them in, or otherwise we can just have
I'm pretty sure JT is going to be doing that in the control room, because otherwise there are going to be a lot of things happening over here, and I don't want to completely knock us off air or suddenly translate us into Spanish.
Just start hanging up on them. Try again.
Yikes.
JT, do we got line 3 or 4 on there yet?
It is blinking, so we've got lines. We've got stuff coming. He's going to let us know which one.
Let's throw the first one on air here.
Okie doke. Perhaps we do. Yep, caller, go ahead.
We got him on.
Who am I talking to?
This is Daryl.
Daryl, how are you? Would you like to go to Rolog this weekend?
Oh, for sure. I planned on going, but this will make it even easier.
All right. So, Daryl, I am going to hold 2 tickets for you, and do not go anywhere because you need to stay on hold so we can get all your information, and I'll make sure that these are here at the studio. We'll figure that out for you. So, Daryl's got 1 set of tickets, and let's go to the next caller for the second set of tickets.
Yeah. Hey there, caller. Are you on the line? Who is this?
This is Lori.
Lori. What would you say if I told you were caller number 5?
Well, I guess then my husband and daughter will have to buy their own tickets.
Well, it's a good thing you're not caller number 5 then, because you're caller number 4. You got yourself a pair of tickets.
Awesome. I'll be the hero today.
Yes, you will.
There you go.
Thanks so much.
Stay on the line. Really appreciate you listening and giving us a call, and we hope you have a fun weekend out there, all right?
Thank you. You too.
Yep, stick with us so we get your information.
You on hold.
Yes.
There we go. We had 2 more tickets away. That's fun.
That is an awesome deal. Now, also, we had another caller who did not want to stay on the line, Justin, and their question was in regards to the herbicide paraquat, and does paraquat cause cancer? I know we only have a couple moments left in our show. That's a way bigger question than I can answer in a short amount of time. So, yes, we'll talk about paraquat. Don't worry, but I'm going to hold on that one before we answer it. Meanwhile, weather dude, go.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The forecast. Hey, current temperatures outside of Fargo. Looks like we're at 84 degrees. South winds at 22, still gusting to 40 miles an hour. It's going to remain windy through the rest of the day. Gusts periodically over 40 with high temperatures in the mid to upper 80s. Tonight, mid 60s for low. Tomorrow, we'll be in the low 90s, and we stay in the low to mid 90s over the weekend with much lighter wind. Shaping up to be pretty nice weekend. Our next chance for rain outside of a pop-up shower possible today will come on Monday night. But that's going to do it for Weather and Ag in Focus today. We appreciate you all listening. We're back tomorrow, 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The Jay Thomas Show will be coming up next.
It's the Coffee Club with Janae and Ronnie.
Now, I was